He actually called her. She's sitting on the edge of her bed and I sat beside her and I said, have a look at this. And I showed her the text message. He was saying to her everything she wanted to hear. She wanted to get married, wanted to have kids, wanted that life. He knew all that. Camila was starting to say things to us and nothing was making sense. And I think it was you at the time said, how would you know if he's hurting? How? And she said she actually spoke to him.
Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. I am Sherrilyn and I am so glad you found me. If you're not new here, welcome back. Thank you for joining me every single upload. I love and I appreciate you so much. I see you. I see all of you. Actually want to start, now there's a new feature on YouTube where it shows you like the most, I think it's like every month or maybe every week. I don't know. But it you know, gives me a little like shout out of who's been commenting and like roughly the amount of comments and likes and support. And so I'm like, oh yeah, you're on there for sure. I love you. So thank you. But I feel like I should start sharing that a little bit more with you guys and really show you like on the screen. I appreciate you. Okay, we're going to get into it today. We have a lot to go over. It's a really heavy topic, but one that I'm like very passionate talking about lately is like the true crime aspect of catfishing. And I think this story probably hands down is one of like the most diabolical that I've ever heard. And just like such a reminder of shit's got to change, bro. Like we need new laws in place, like especially with where we're at in this day and age with like technology and how it's progressing and deception, like through AI. It's like if we don't do something now to get something in place, like this is just going to get, it's going to get worse. So yeah, lately have just been really wanting to talk about catfishing. And I think the response from you guys has also been similar. So I'm glad we're all on the same page here. Okay. We definitely are going to have a riddle today and, you know, just set the mood, ground ourselves a little bit before we get into it. So today's riddle is: every night I'm told what to do, and each morning I do what I'm told, but I still don't escape your scold. What am I? While you think about the answer, I have a quick message for you about our sponsor today, one that is my go-to to bring me back to my happy place after heavy days of researching and filming like today's case, and that is Heyday. You guys, if you know me, you know I am so obsessed with games. And when I heard that Heyday wanted to work with me, I literally screeched. Brent was like, what is going on? And I called my daughter immediately. To her and I, it's not a game, okay? It's a lifestyle. We've been playing for years and it is hands down our all-time favorite game. I love that she loves it as much as I do because we get to, you know, show each other what we've been up to on the farm, show each other like the new decorations we have and machines that we've got going, building our new things on the farm. We also help each other with tasks and orders, which you can also do like with other people in Heyday, so you have like your own little community. Seriously, we take it so seriously that we just tell everybody that we're pretty confident we could now be farmers in real life. And I apologize to all of the actual farmers out there because that's so insulting. But I mean, like, I wouldn't mind now getting like a chicken or 5 and a couple pigs. There is something so relaxing about this game, but also productive, creative, engaging. I don't know how to explain it because like you do have daily tasks and monthly tasks and things that you've got to do. But if you're ever not on the game, it's not like you have like the pressure of being like, oh my gosh, I've got to feed those pigs or else I'm going to come back to, you know, a pen full of no more pigs. You know, like they're just chilling waiting for you. So you can go at your own pace. I'm just like really into it. So I want to do all of the things and I make, you know, the effort every day to go tend to my crops and my animals, make sure that all of my machines are in functioning order. The easiest way to say it is I truly feel like I'm running a farming empire, but at the same time, it's like the perfect mix of chill and creative and then making you feel productive at your own pace. If you have not played Heyday yet, first Like, what are you doing with your life? That's not to like make you feel bad. It's okay because there's time. Like, you can still get on. You can download it now using the free link in my description. And you also can start building your dream farm empire today. Right now, also until February 15th, Heyday is gifting all of those who download through the link in my description, and you get 16 decos, farm decors, if you will, decorations, and that will get you started on personalizing your farm. That's a value of $15.99, and I love that it has the little umbrella included in there. It's like the little picnic set. That was like one of the first things I got, and the garden torch and the hydrangeas. There's lots of cute things for you in there. Like I said, just click the link in my description or scan the QR code and download Heyday. Then you're going to click the same link again once the game is downloaded to get your reward. So it will automatically appear when you open the game, and then you just simply need to click claim and you'll have those gifts waiting for you. It's free to download on Android and iOS. And just a pro tip for you, if you have an iPad and maybe you already have Heyday and you're not playing it on the iPad, you are missing out. So now if you're downloading it for the first time and you have an iPad, like, you are about to enter like a whole new world of gaming. Seriously, whipping that bad boy out on a Saturday night while I just sit on the couch and just like kind of be in Big Guy's presence while he watches Fast and the Furious for the millionth time. If you follow my Instagram stories, you'll know what I'm talking about. But for me to allow to like still be there and not watch it and be in my own world, it's just the perfect Saturday evening. I am so excited for all of you to embark on your farming journey. Just don't be surprised if you find yourself saying, hold on while I harvest my wheat, guys, because that is really relatable. And it will happen. Thank you again so much, Heyday, for literally creating the most perfect game. And thank you for sponsoring today's video and kind of like making me a fangirl when I got the opportunity to work with you. And I also gained like 100 coolness points in my daughter's eyes. So also thank you for that. Today we're talking about a vibrant young woman with her entire life ahead of her. Her name is Renee Marsden. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. But in August of 2013, she disappeared, leaving behind only her car and a heartbreaking trail of deception. What led to this 20-year-old woman's fate is a chilling case of betrayal, manipulation, and the dangers of catfishing. This is the story of Renee Marsden. Renee Marsden grew up in Sydney, Australia in a loving and supportive family. She was born on October 15th, 1992 in Fairfield Hospital. She was the biological daughter of Teresa Marsden and Jamie Death? Death? It's like death, but with an E. So I want to say like Death. Also Australian, which would have a way better accent than I'm giving right now. So anyways, but when Renee was about 2 years old, her parents separated. And when Renee was about 5, Teresa met Mark Marsden. And Renee became like very, very close to Mark as her stepdad. In 2000, Teresa and Mark married. They had 3 children. And then when Renee was 18, she took on her stepdad's last name to also be a Marsden. At 20 years old, Renee was described as bubbly, kind-hearted, full of life. She was talking about plans to move out and share an apartment with her cousin Stephanie. She was working full-time and looking forward to celebrating her 21st birthday, which, I mean, I think all of us can remember just like anticipating that milestone. In her romantic life, Renee was in a relationship with a guy named Braden Spiteri. Now, there's some issues here with Braden. There was a little bit of complexities in terms of their relationship because Braden was in prison.
That they planned a wedding.
They were, seemed to be very much in love. Renee was making plans to marry him shortly after he was released from prison. She had even made an appointment for a wedding photographer, to speak to a wedding photographer, at the end of November. By 2013, they had already been communicating and, dating via, messaging since the late 2011. And he was actually introduced to Renee by her best friend Camila, who was seeing him prior. Renee and Camila had known each other since the 9th grade, and when things didn't work out between Camila and Braden, she decided, she was going to introduce Renee to Braden because she thought that they would be well suited for each other. So from the get-go, there are obviously concerns that Renee's loved ones have for her. I mean, he's in prison. Renee said that he was serving a prison sentence for a motorcycle accident that took the life of his best friend, Richie, who had been on the back of the bike. And another concern that they had was all of their correspondence was through messaging, mostly text, because he was keeping like a phone hidden in jail and didn't want to, like risk being heard if he was talking on the phone. So like it was all messaging. Although Renee's loved one said that there were times where they would have like phone conversations, or like he would hear her voice and then like message back. And she wasn't able to go and visit him in prison because she said he had forfeited his visitation rights so that he could get a shorter sentence. It sounds, based on everybody's, recount of the situation, that knew and loved Renee, things went on like pretty quick, pretty intense, fast. They were, full blown in love with each other. Renee even got B. Spiteri tattooed on the right side of her chest. So, got a tattoo for him, just like showing his support. I'm going to be here waiting so that we can start our life together when you get out. Even though their communication and relationship was via text and messaging, Braden definitely was exhibiting signs of possessiveness and jealousy with Renee. Like he was able to, keep that hold of her just through messaging. With him being in jail, he wanted her available to message him constantly. For example, just between March 13th and June 19th of 2013, there were over 11,000 text messages between them. And that's just text messages. So that's not even like Facebook messaging, which there was also a lot. So she's constantly available, clearly, just texting all day, checking in, communicating 24/7 with him. It did get to the point where Renee's mother expressed concern for the relationship and, told Renee, I think, I don't know if this is the best situation. I think maybe you should consider ending it. And she was fully valid to feel like that because she had also, so Renee's mom, Teresa, had also had some exchanges with Braden. It sounds like initially the text exchanges between them were kind of like, hey, Teresa, it's Braden. Renee's really upset because everybody keeps telling her, the obvious, that this isn't going to work out, that I'm not good for her because I'm in jail. But, like what we have between us is, it's true. It's real love. And I just want you to know, like, I'm a good guy, which is all fine and dandy, except for Teresa said often he would message her back from Renee's account. So Teresa would like message her own daughter, and then like Braden would reply being like, oh, like that's gonna upset, like let's not upset Renee. Like I do love her. And she's like, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to my daughter. Like, please get off Facebook. And it seemed Braden very much patrolled not only like Renee's actions, especially online, like on Facebook, but also like her friends and family, to the point that in April 2012, when he saw that Teresa, Renee's mother, liked a post of Renee's ex-boyfriend prior to dating Braden, he like lost it. So Angus was the name of the ex, had posted something like on his own Facebook, and Teresa, who was still like mutuals with him, liked it. And then Teresa gets this message from Braden, pissed, saying like how disrespectful it was that she's liking Renee's ex-boyfriend's post, calling her an unfit mother. Teresa said that there was like a lot of like name calling to try to make her feel bad. And she's like, what in the heck? Like, I just like this. And also, I think it's important to know for context, this relationship was one that she was in just prior to Braden. And everybody, including Angus, Renee's ex, was completely taken aback and dumbfounded when Renee ended it, because it seemed to be just like so perfect for each other. They seemed well suited. They were happy. They, just seemed like that kind of couple that was like getting ready to plan for their future together. So when it ended, everyone kind of thought that it came out of nowhere, including Renee's family. And so like he didn't do anything wrong. Like they continued following and supporting like what he was going to do, next in life. So since Teresa, even though she got that message from Brayden just like popping off on her about liking Angus's post, since she was seeing that Renee was changing in this relationship and becoming very isolated and not going out much and retreating and just like constantly communicating with Brayden, she knew that this was not a good situation and didn't want to make Renee retreat even further by, kind of like putting it on her to end things and be like this is what he, you know what I mean? Like messaged me and get mad at her for like his actions. So she thought, okay, I'm going to let this go and just like further make her feel like she's supported so that she doesn't like completely push us away. Now, my understanding of the timeline here is that Renee and Brayden were anticipating him being released from prison around, I think, like August or September 2012. And that didn't happen. So things take a even more serious turn when Renee is rushed to the hospital in September 2012 by her mom. Hospital records state that she had taken over abundance of medication during an emotional break. And I think she had done this like 3 days prior to her going to hospital, but she had not stopped being sick since that had happened and was like really worried. And obviously her mom was concerned. So they take her to the hospital. And according to the doctor's notes, she had stated that, she had a boyfriend who was in prison, had gotten out on parole, but like that first, I think, day, got in a fight with his father. The father pressed charges, and then since he was on parole, that made him immediately go back to jail for another 2 years. So it was like, she's waited all this time, he's finally out. The second he gets out, gets in an argument, the father presses charges, and now we're back to square one, and he's in there for another 2 years. So according to the hospital records, it stated that because of this, she was extremely distraught and distressed. She didn't have any contact with him, didn't know what was going on. I think she acknowledged, based on the doctor's report, that this was just like it just all like kind of came on like so suddenly, and she felt like she couldn't handle it at that moment, but was now feeling mentally stable. She also said that she was experiencing like some stress at work, and although her mood was marked as a 4 out of 10, she denied wanting to like self-harm anymore. Based on this, she was discharged. She, told the doctor that she acknowledged and was very thankful and happy to be alive, and that there was no, fatal or severe health related consequences to what happened. And it was just like in that moment, her feeling like this was the only option because she just was overwhelmed with emotion. And we'll get more into kind of like what the buildup for that is as well, because Renee had been emotionally and mentally just taxed through this relationship. Like the amount of ups and downs it was hard for me to read the notes from the inquest of this case. I will have it linked so you guys can also read it, but I mean, just, proceed with caution, because it is very triggering to see like the messages and just kind of get a glimpse into what she was dealing with and like how she was being broken down. So at this point, it seemed like the severity of the situation and what could have happened to her set in for Renee. And, she was thinking already, like getting there, that, okay, this is not good. This is affecting me too much. And it was Renee's mom who reached out to Brayden and said, listen, like, this is not good. If you were, man enough, you would let her go and live her life, like at least until you're out of prison. Especially now that we're in this new situation, like she cannot keep doing this. She's already waited, and then now look what happened, like to make her wait and go through this like even longer. No, which Teresa said like he seemed to agree. And so they kind of break communication. Renee was, going out again, even started seeing a work colleague and got engaged to this work, boyfriend from, not, I don't want to say work boyfriend, like the boyfriend she met through work. They got engaged in January 2013. Now, when Braden finds this out, he started messaging her again and wouldn't stop, and was even messaging her new fiance, threatening him to stay away from her, being like, we're not together right now, but like, she's mine. When I get out, like, we're going to be back together. And unfortunately, his ability to pull on Renee's emotions just like reeled her back in. And when her fiance was like, you either continue with our relationship and our future and tell Braden like he needs to stop messaging and leave us alone, or we're done. It's like him or me, basically. Renee made the decision to end things with her fiance and work towards a future with Braden. From March to July, things seemed to be, I guess, going okay, but the pattern was definitely, lots of high highs and lots of low lows. And then in July 2013, there was a month-long period where they did not communicate. And Braden had a court case upcoming and didn't want to like risk anything, because the thought was that, if they were to like catch anything, and now I've already had these violations, like I don't want to risk not getting an early release, because he thought like he was going to be able to get released early from prison. It very much sounds like this month-long period without communicating with him was very hard on Renee. Her friends, her family, her work colleagues knew how difficult it was. She was saying, like she's still sending messages, just have them out there, maybe when his phone comes on, like to see how much she was like thinking about him and missing him. And then on August 5th, 2013, Renee finally hears from Braden. She was at work at the time, and her work colleague and friend said that Renee was, visibly upset. She said that the responses from Braden were like very blunt and cold, which you can imagine would be, like very distressing, given that they haven't communicated for a month. She's been sending things letting him know how much she misses him, and then everything is just like blunt, cold, like what happened during this month, right? So Renee and her work coworker decide, like let's go for lunch together, get your mind off things. And her coworker said that while they were walking to the cafe, she just starts crying and shaking and shows the phone to him, and it's Braden, and he just sent a message that said, "I think I need a break, and so do you," which leaves her utterly devastated. Her friend said that throughout that entire lunch, it was just like basically consoling Renee. She was crying, wanted to go home early. So when they got back to the office, she, said goodbye to her coworker and said like, this is too much. Like I have to go home. I have to sort out what's going on here. And said that she was going to be calling the Goulburn prison to speak with Braden. Renee left work, and her phone records show that at 2:44 p.m., she made a 90-second phone call to the Goulburn prison. Unfortunately, there is no evidence as to what she was told by the prison, but it is known that she did not speak with Braden. After that call, Renee had 2 text messages like sent to Braden, probably like related to like what she was told on this call. She arrived home, and when she got there, Teresa, her mom, was there and could see that she was upset. She asked Renee like, "What's wrong?" She said, "Nothing's wrong, Mom." And she went to her room, removed her makeup, got out of her work clothes, which her mom said was like her usual routine, just to like chill. Then up in her room, she sent 9 text messages to Braden. He didn't reply to her, but shortly after receiving the last text from Renee, Braden messages Teresa And the text message says, "Sort your daughter out. She's threatening to unalive herself." Teresa replies to Brayden and asks, like, why, what's happened? And Brayden just says, ask her yourself. So she goes to Renee's room, asks her, what's going on? Is this true? And Teresa said, Renee was like, no, Mom, like, don't be silly. I wouldn't do that. I'm just upset. Teresa shows the text message to Renee that she got from Brayden, and Renee just said, Mom, honestly, like, you do not have to worry about him anymore. I finally found out what he's all about. When Teresa asked what she meant by that, Renee just said, like, don't worry, Mom, like, it's over between us. So at this point, Teresa had to leave to go pick up her 3 younger children from the bus stop and then came back home. And by this time, she saw that Renee was getting dressed and putting her makeup on to go out and have some dinner with some friends. Teresa had to take 2 of the children to swimming lessons, so she asked Renee to take her youngest sibling just over to her grandmother, who lived, I guess, like in like a little condo or something like that on their property. So Renee said yes, of course. And then she said, like, she's going to go out with her friends, but she was not going to be back late, which her parents said was, very much Renee. Like, nothing was seeming out of the ordinary when she did hang out with her friends. It was always like a super early night. Like, she was always like, have the dinner, hang out for a little bit, home by 9. While Teresa was at the swimming pool with her 2 other children, she receives another text message from Renee. This is at 5:49 p.m. And it said something along the lines of, I love you, Mom. Like, you're my best friend. I'm sorry. It sounds like in Teresa's mind, it was like, just because of the emotions earlier, I love you. Like, just wanted to let you know, like, thanks for checking in on me. I love you. You're my best friend. And, like, I'm sorry with what's, been going on, is my understanding of kind of like how Teresa took that. So when she gets back home, she actually was just kind of like doing a lot of like carpooling, shuttling to activities. She ended up going back to pick up their youngest child to take her to one of her classes. And then in between that, Teresa stopped at a friend's house and she told the friend about this exchange with Brayden and then Renee's message. And when they tried to when she tried to call back and like message Renee back, there was no response to her. So her friend thought, just to be safe, like, I don't think this is you overreacting at all. Like, based on these exchanges, I think we should call the police. So they did. After speaking with police, Teresa also text messaged Renee's best friend Camila at around like 8:20 p.m. And she just asked, like, hey, have you heard from Renee? Camila replied back and said, yeah, she messaged me a while ago. Like, is everything okay? Teresa says, no, I don't think so. I can't get a hold of her. Camila tries to call Renee's phone. She says, like, at this point, it wasn't even ringing. It was switched off. So she messaged Teresa back and said, I'll come and get you with my mom and we can all go out and look for her. So Teresa agreed. So it was Camila, her mom, Teresa, all started, driving around looking for Renee. They drove to places that Camila suggested Renee might be. One of them was a McDonald's, and then the other was a house in Glen Haven, which Camila said is where Brayden's sister lived. So when they get there, Teresa's gonna go knock on the door, and Camila's like, well, her car's not here, so she's probably not here. And now that I'm kind of looking at everything, I think his sister moved from here. Like, I don't even think she lives here anymore. And now with Renee's car not being here, I don't think this is a house. So they left. While they're out driving, police are making inquiries into, with Renee's mobile phone provider. And they learned that Renee's phone had switched off at 5:58 p.m. in the vicinity of Old South Head Road, Vaucluse. Sorry. This is an area also known as The Gap. I guess The Gap is an ocean cliff at the south head of the eastern suburbs of Sydney, Australia. I guess it's a very popular tourist attraction, but is also infamous for people taking their lives. I believe it's like 50 a year or something like that. So that, having that knowledge, knowing that about the location, officers are very concerned and they head out there to look for Renee. At about 8:45 p.m., They find Renee's car in the area, but no signs of Renee. They did do land and air search, but that was also unsuccessful for finding her. On top of also Renee's car being there to indicate that yes, like she had been there, the following day, Mark and Teresa, her parents, also went to the scene to look, and Teresa actually found Renee's shoes that were neatly near this like old gun turret that was like on the path to the reserve. So just like a further indication that, you know, like Renee was there, got out of her car, placed her shoes, and was like walking towards like the edge. Based on the state that she was that day and the message that Teresa received from Braden, everybody obviously realized that Renee had taken her life. There was also clues left behind in her car that just kind of helped investigators also understand her mindset at the time. Inside her vehicle, there was a Valentine's Day card from Braden. And inside Renee's wallet, there was like this photo montage of like Braden and Renee that she had like kind of like clipped together from like photos of their socials. And then using her finger, she had written on the window of the car, "I love you, Braden." Inside her car, there was also an iPhone. Now, this was not the This was not the phone that she was recently using, and not the phone that she had used that day. It was like her old phone, but it had contained like a lot of communication between her and Braden throughout their relationship. So it seems like, you know, like that was like kind of like a memento to her, like, and she had kept that, and that phone was in the car. They do believe that the phone that Renee, her new phone that she was using, was thrown like into the water. There were aerial searches. There were, I think, multiple dive searches as well into the water. All of them were unsuccessful, not only in finding Renee, but also her phone. So the police investigation in, you know, trying to figure out what happened with Renee quickly focused on her relationship with Braden. And after obtaining telephone records and speaking with Renee's family and friends, the police unearthed an absolute bombshell, and that is that Braden Spiteri did not exist at all. Despite not having the Braden phone, police did have Renee, this old phone that Renee had, in the car. It was through that phone, the old phone of Renee's, that they were able to piece the dots together, if you will. And it actually was Renee's family who did a lot of this. So when police initially took that phone from the scene to try to like get into it and see if they could get any information from it, it was locked. And for whatever reason, like they, you know, maybe technology at that time there that were available for police resources, they could not unlock the phone. So they just gave it back to the family. And as, you know, the family are trying to like guess and unlock the phone and get in it, it's Renee's younger brother, her 13-year-old brother, whose friend knew of a program that he thought, you know, they could buy down and then download the contents of her phone from it. I think Mark, her stepdad, said that it was like $100 or something like that. They buy it and they're able to unlock and like download the contents of the phone. The only thing was that it was like when it came out, the messages were scrambled. So Renee's father just goes full detective mode. He like created a spreadsheet to try to like sort through everything. And from there, he's able to see this pattern. And the pattern was not only were there thousands and thousands and thousands of messages between Renee and Braden, there's also just as much between Renee and her best friend, Camila. And the way Braden and Camila was texted was very similar, like not so much in what they were saying, but the pattern. Like, so from what he could see, like just in this like deciphered code. So like in terms of like 14 messages in a row, like just bombarding. And when Braden was messaging, there's like the breaks from Camila. Camila wasn't messaging, and then vice versa. When Camila's messaging, there's nothing from Brayden. So he tells Teresa, like, this is Camila. So they bring that spreadsheet to the police, and the police agreed. Obviously, they don't just agree based on, you know, these scrambled messages and the spreadsheet, but learning about the history of Camila and Renee's friendship. So they met as teenagers at Catholic school, and initially they were inseparable, but as their friendship grew, there was like a very troubling dynamic there. Camila was intensely possessive of Renee. We are talking stalking, harassing, physical abuse. It was really troubling, and it had been addressed. We'll also get into that. But when police find this out, they bring Camila in for an interview. And I guess she like came in with like an already like handwritten statement that just said that the last she heard from Renee was on the 5th. When she comes in, my understanding is she already had like a 2-page written statement like ready to go, which basically said that the last time she heard from Renee was on August 5th at 5:47, and Renee had just sent her a text message that said, "I'm sorry for everything. You will always be my best friend. I hope one day you can forgive me. I love you. XOXO." When she's asked about, you know, like what she knows about the relationship between Renee and Brayden, it seems like she really tried to like distance herself, not only from Brayden, but then also Renee. She said like, oh, she didn't really know much about the relationship because Renee didn't talk to her too much about it. And then she also says that her and Renee weren't talking much because Renee's parents didn't like her and didn't want them to be friends anymore, which obviously like that's why she was in there getting interviewed. Like they had already spoken to her family and friends to learn that she was, you know, obsessive, abusive, controlling. And yeah, they very much did not want her in Renee's life. But initially they kind of let her like believe that, okay, like whatever she's feeding them, like, yeah, okay, like you guys weren't friends. But at the end of the meeting, it's a senior constable, a woman who comes in and talks to Camila and says like, I want you to be honest with me because we have call logs, all right? And what I'm seeing here in front of me, it suggests not only were you not like distance from Renee's life, like we have thousands and thousands and thousands of messages between you, but this is also very much looking like you're Brayden. Like, is that true? And Camila's like, no, I'm not. I know a lot of people think I am, and that's just because like everybody is against me. She even, you know, makes this ominous statement saying like, I just wish I was wherever Renee is right now. I want to have the peace that she's feeling, you know, so we could be together. Like, do you think she's really gone? And, you know, the constable's like, well, that's literally what we're trying to figure out here. And at that point, she just kind of like left it at that. Camila didn't want to talk anymore. And without any hard evidence, the meeting just like wrapped up and she was allowed to go. The following day, the 26th of August, 2013, Camila was admitted to hospital by her family because they were very concerned that she was at risk for self-harm. So she was monitored for a few days and then discharged on the 30th of August. From what I could tell, she didn't provide any indication that she knew what happened to the doctors or nurses like during that stay. I mean, obviously, I guess we can assume that the stress and pressure of like a police investigation, your friend's death, and then all signs are pointing to you betraying her in the most diabolical way ever was a lot to handle. But like we don't know what those records said. Over the next month, the investigation is forging on the police end, and then on the 23rd of September 2013, the police execute a search warrant to locate the mobile phone that Camila had used solely for the purpose of Brayden. Unfortunately, with the time that had passed, police were not able to locate the phone or the SIM card. They weren't even able to go to the service provider to try to get a database to access all the calls and messages, because at the time in 2013, the telephone providers weren't holding on to their data unless there was like immediately like a request from law enforcement. Everything expired after 7 days. Like it just disappeared and they were unable to access it. They did, however, seize other items that did seem to tie Camila to Braden, or like, you know, being Braden. One of them being a letter that Renee had written to Braden. It was still in an envelope and it was like ripped up and tossed in the garbage bin, but not like thrown out from there. So this was in Camila's room. Renee to Braden, like she's got it. They also found a photograph of Braden with Camila on Camila's phone. We're going to get into that in a minute here. At the end of the search of her bedroom, I guess Camila's like still sitting like on the couch in the house, and one of the constables goes to her and says, "Is there anything that you want to talk about?" You know, and kind of it seems like approached it in a supportive way. It's like, you know, I'm happy to listen if you have anything to say. And this is when Camila, you know, drops a bomb and says, "I was sending the text messages to Renee as Braden." She says it was Renee who asked her to do that because they wanted to pretend that there was a Braden. So Renee wanted Camila to pretend she was Braden, which made no damn sense. And the constable's like, "Why would Renee want you to pretend to be Braden?" And Camila said, "I don't know, you know, she just asked me to do it, and so I did it. I don't know anything." And pretty much was like, what's going to happen to me now? Again, at that point, the investigators are just like, I don't know. Like at this point, we're just like interested. We are just interested in finding out like what happened to Renee. Like obviously something beyond like comprehension to like lead her to do this happened. And we're just trying to get to the bottom of that. So again, at this point, that was all that Camila wanted to talk about. She declined to be interviewed and again was just let go. At this point, years pass. Okay, like this has to be so heartbreaking and frustrating for the family. It wasn't until 2019, due to, you know, advances in technology, that the contents of Renee and Braden's texts were finally able to be accessed from that phone that was in her car. So although they were able to like kind of like put their spreadsheet together and stuff like with correspondence, like I said, the actual like data in there was scrambled. So they weren't actually able to like see what was being said. And now in 2019, they finally were able to. It's through these text messages that police are pretty confident that Renee had no idea that Braden was Camila. I don't know why that took me so long to come out. It was clear that Renee had no idea and believed that Braden was a real person. One of the examples being in March 2013, Renee expresses her gratitude to Camila for her, you know, like just accepting the relationship between her and Braden, even though like Camila and him had like dated before. So Renee wrote to Camila saying, "There are two things that I'm absolutely grateful for, and I will always be thankful and grateful for the rest of my life, and that is allowing me and Braden to start a relationship together. You don't understand, babe, how much it truly means to me, and if it wasn't because of you, I wouldn't have met the one person that means more than the world itself to me. And secondly, for always being there no matter what happens. I only want the best for you, and I hope one day you find you're everything and you're someone that will mean more than life itself and more than anyone or anything in the world. I'd kill anyone that would hurt you. Learn from your mistakes, especially the last few months, but you have pushed through, showing how strong you truly are, and I admire you for that. I'll do anything I can to make sure I can give you what I found and make sure that the person is your all. It's my life mission to see you happy, and my life won't fully be complete until I see the day you have everything you ever dreamt of." Very, first of all, I think like just shows like Renee's heart and how much she cares and wants the best for her friend. although we'll see, like, Camila did not want that for her. But it's like, why would she go out of her way to say something like this if this was like a ruse that she created? Makes no sense, right? The text messages that they found, again, we're missing a lot of them because of the current phone that she was using gone, and then just like with the time passed with like Camila deleting things on her end, not being able to locate the Brayden phone, so like they're going based off of the old phone. But they were able to find texts that also showed how volatile and unhealthy Camila's obsession with Renee was. People in Renee's life had already had this suspicion, and my understanding is like it was even brought to Renee that Camila could be behind like something that had to do with Brayden, because prior to Brayden, during their friendship, so they met in the 9th grade and became like fast friends, you know, like fast, close, very quickly. But people in Renee's life were like, something is up with her. Like, she's just so controlling. And at the time, Renee had a boyfriend. And again, like everybody in her life was like, you know, like he seems great. You guys seem so happy. There's nothing wrong. But Camila is like the only one who's like seeing all of these red flags and being like, he's just using you. He hates you. He doesn't like you. I'm hearing this. I'm hearing that. Like very much in Renee's ear, you know, like wanting the best for her and not like thinking that this person is it. That being said, her family was kind of like, well, like, who are you? Because they noticed like a switch in Renee when she did meet Camila. She was like skipping school. She had started smoking cigarettes. Her grades had dropped dramatically, and this wasn't because of like the boyfriend that she had like prior to knowing her. This was like when she came into her life, and you know, she went from being like very outgoing and confident to very withdrawn and not outspoken at all. Renee even confided in her cousin, saying that there had been times that Camila was abusive to her, like physically aggressive. Like she would push her, punch her. She was left with bruises. This actually led Renee and her cousin having a falling out because she was like, that's not okay. Like, you need to tell somebody. And Renee was like, no, you know, like, it's okay. And her cousin actually went to Teresa to be like, this is what's going on. And then the family was like, you guys should not be friends. And so then Renee felt betrayed by her cousin because she had confided in her. And then even though she was just like worried about her, she's like, why did you go and like tell everybody? There also is some indication that Camila wanted like a relationship with Renee. I want to like tread on this lightly because I really don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem like Renee was like a willing participant in doing anything like physical with Camila, but there are indications that like something happened, and her loved ones feel like because like Camila was like so intimidating and like much like bigger than Renee, that there could have possibly just been like Renee feeling like she had no other choice but to agree to, you know, certain physical interactions. On more than one occasion, Renee's family had gotten involved to, you'd like even say to Camila, like, this is unhealthy. Like, this is, your obsession is not okay. Renee's cousin said there was one time they went out for lunch. I think she said that they had been together in like less than an hour. And within that time, Camila had called her like 17 times. So they're just like driving. It's like 40 minutes or something like that. And in that time frame, Camila had called her 16 times. So it just kind of gives like an indication of just like how present she is, like, and how much like pressure she's constantly putting on her, even when they're like not hanging out. They took this to the school. Teresa's mom and Camila's mom had a meeting together to, you know, like try to address the situation here, right? But Camila was just like, just something about her and her influence over Renee of being like, you know, like, everybody's out to get me. Like, you're like my best friend. I love you. I want the best for you. yada, yada, yada. She even bought Renee a separate cell phone that she paid for because Renee's mom's like, listen, like, you can't let this person have this control over you. And if she's going to constantly be blowing up your phone and harassing you, like, you're not going to have a phone. So Camila like goes and buys her and pays for a phone so she can like communicate with her. It's a lot. It's intense. So in 2019, there was actually her family feeling like some hope that there was going to be some distance between them because Renee had transitioned to like a school to study hairdressing. But halfway through that term, all of a sudden Camila decides that she's going to also become a hairdresser and enrolls in the same school. Again, the unhealthy, abusive, harassing, stalking, over the top behavior like just kind of picked up again. Now around this time though, Renee met a young man named Angus. This is the one that, you know, like Braden popped off on Teresa about. This is while she was working, I think like as an apprentice at a hair salon. And he was just like, had seen her. I think she like washed his hair before like his hairdresser like cut his hair and was just like, oh my gosh, like, I just love you. And then was like finding excuses to come back and see her. So they start dating. And then when Camila finds this out, she just like starts like straight up stalking, harassing Camila, like following her to work, like taking the train and like going to work, waiting outside of her work. She also showed up at Renee's house being like, you know, like, you're ignoring me. It's giving very much Glenn Close. Like, you can't just like ignore me, Dan.
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
It was intense. And I think what's really scary too is this like wasn't over like this. It's not hidden. Like this is in public. This is in front of Renee's coworkers, like of her showing up at her work being like, if you don't want to talk to me like on the phone, like I'm just going to keep coming here to talk to you. Like you can't just ignore me. And then also at the house, again, Teresa, Renee's mom, had to get involved and get Camila's mom involved. And they went to like a coffee shop all together to be like, this is not okay. This cannot continue. And Renee even saying like, yeah, like it's too much. And Teresa said that Camila was very upset, protested in this coffee shop, like was very angry to the point where Renee like got up to leave the situation. And Camila follows her, like grabbing her arm, being like, no, like you don't mean it. You don't want to be friends with me. Like we're best friends. Like you can't, like they're just trying to like get in between us. It's a lot. I can't even imagine what that would have felt like for Renee. It got to the point where like Teresa has to like separate Camila off of her daughter and be like, you gotta go. And then as Renee's running to the car, she's like chasing after her to where like Teresa again is like, enough. Now it's through Facebook messages between Camila and Renee that police were able to access in like early October 2011 that, you know, like with her completely like losing it, she references that, you know, like some sort of like physical relationship that they may have had in the past, and her saying like, you know, I feel like you use me, like for example, like even the phone. And it's like, well, like you wanted to pay for the phone because Renee was not allowed to talk to you. But she also did reference, you know, like intimate exchanges between them and being like, I don't want to feel like somebody on the side, where Renee like replied being like, you're not, because like there's always going to be somebody else. Like we're not together. It's when Renee says like, there's always going to be somebody else in my life. Like you are not the main character here, that she starts to introduce Braden into their lives. And then this, you know, manipulation and control continues, but now it's like Braden that is doing it and like getting intertwined into all of this, which is just like, oh my God, like so, again, diabolical to think about that. Like her being told like there's always going to be somebody else, and then her being like, I'm going to be this somebody else. Like, I'm going to create this somebody else. Even if it's not me, like it's going to be me. Unfortunately, with whatever sick, twisted mind she had thinking like, I'm going to be this somebody else, you'd think like with Renee's like constant attention and availability would be like, I don't know, I guess enough for her, even though that is like so freaking warped to say. It wasn't. It was like now Brayden, he was also like possessive. Like it just couldn't be enough. Like he was also possessive and abusive and controlling, which is like Camila, but now being him. It's just, the emotional warfare that Camila put on Renee is it's insane. Like this is some of the most insane behavior I've ever heard of. And Camila would like insert herself a little bit, but then also like have Brayden involved in things. It's so confused. It's not even like confused. It's just like so much. It's so intense. It doesn't even seem real. So like, for instance, there was a soccer game that Renee and a friend had gone to watch. Like it was Camila's soccer game. So they go to watch to support Camila, and the friend and Renee are, like talking a little bit like throughout the game. And I guess at one point while they're talking, they missed Camila score a goal. And she absolutely loses her mind, leaves Renee like there, like drives and like leaves her like without a ride. She's so upset with her. And then just like sends this like barrage of like text being like, get effed, you C word. I'm not talking to both of you dogs. You can get effed. You're both C words. Don't come back to another game. Lost her mind over this because they missed her goal. Like, score another one if you're that good, okay? Anyways, as she's texting, after she texts all of this to Renee, like just to make her feel like absolute garbage, all of a sudden Brayden starts talking and texting, and he's manipulating the situation and trying to make Renee feel bad. And the way he's saying it is because he has access to her Facebook, right? So he's like, what's going on? Like, I can see these messages. Like, why are you guys fighting, trying to get the information out? And Renee's like, screw her. Like, are you joking me? I was just talking with my friend. And he's like, well, that's not what like it looked like. Takes her side. Like, you've got to understand like where she's coming from. The mental, emotional roller coaster. So then obviously then that gets a fight with Renee and Brayden, because she's like, are you joking me? Like, first of all, you weren't even there. Like, and aren't you my boyfriend? Now all of a sudden you are understanding how unhinged this girl is, left me there, has blown up my phone, calling me every name in the book. And you're like, you've got to understand where like, that was really wrong of you. I can't. Here's just like a snippet of that exchange, like in terms of the soccer game, so that you can like get a feel for this. So Renee says, I'm here every single game, and the one game I walk away and talk to Melanie. She doesn't talk to me, goes home without taking me, speaks to me like shit in front of everyone, calls Melanie but not me, so I'm over it. I'm not coming anymore. I don't want a friend like that. Brayden says, Renee, I can see she tried calling us both 4 times. I went through once. She loves soccer. You both do. Renee goes, she called Melanie once, Brayden. She never called me. So don't say that she did. Brayden's like, I can see it. Again, because he's like also monitoring the stuff. Renee says, look, if she wants to treat me like a dog, she can get effed. I want nothing to do with her. I'm there effing every game, sitting on the sideline, watching her. And the one game I don't, I get abused. So I don't want anything to do with her. Melanie came twice, and both times she never watched, yet she can take her home. So whatever. Oh, okay, that actually gives some insight. So she also, not only did she leave Renee, she took the friend and then left Renee. Blame this all on Renee. Brayden said, she didn't. She dropped her off at Meadow Bank Station. I'm reading the messages, so fix it now. I'm sick of it. Renee's like, she's a compulsive liar. I don't care what she said to Melanie. Why are you looking at her messages anyways? Brayden says, I was on yours and then hers. You're all a bunch of liars. She's like, WTF, how the F am I a liar, Brayden? How? Tell me how. He says, well, I can see the calls made, but it didn't go through. How's that lying? She's like, no, I'm not a liar. So what did I lie about? I got no calls. You want to start saying stuff that pisses me off. I did nothing wrong. I get told off, then have you telling me I'm a liar. And then Brayden's like, Casey. She's like, nice to know you're taking her side. Again, go be with her while you're there. Go be with her while you're there. There's no need for you to read her messages unless it's for something, so have fun. And then he's like, you're effed, Renee. I saw the fight. I effing told you to let the friendship go. You ignored it. And look, but I can see why she's angry. You always blame everyone else, but yet again you. And then Renee just says, okay. You can just see, like, that just gives like some insight. Now this is where this next part is also shows even further, like, just, I also want to say like how sadistic and manipulative Camila is, because like she would do things like this, like side with Camila, like being Brayden, and then they get in fights and stuff like that, but then also like go back to Renee and like reel her back in and be like, you know, like, I love you, like, let's not fight about this, da 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 da. Then there's like this as an example too, as to why, and this would make sense, first of all, why Renee absolutely did not know that this was Camila. But also when people were saying, I think it's Camila, she's like, no, that doesn't make sense, because there would be times that Brayden was like, she's not a good friend. So, you know, like messes with her. So Renee said, you know, there he's asking about like the outcome of like their fight and stuff like that. And then Renee said that she said sorry. And Brayden's like, I know, but don't rush into it, okay? Because it's not stable. Don't rush or push it. I can see it being an abusive blowout fight. She goes, okay, I won't. He's like, I need to talk to you about life properly, babe. She's like, yeah, what about? He's like, you need to start understanding people instead of getting mad and angry. She said, I do, I try. And then he says, like you need to have more friends apart from C, babe. You have to break away from her. And she's like, no, I have. And he's like, I don't want you getting hurt. She's like, I won't. And then she's like, and then Brayden goes, how do you know? She's a loose-headed kid. She's like, I know. I need to trust that she won't hurt me. So you see what we're dealing with here? This is insane. And I can like confidently say that, in my opinion, because I'm also like not able to like diagnose anybody or anything, but this is insane. I just feel like once you see all of those messages, it's very clear, very obvious that Renee had no idea that Brayden was Camila. Like I said, I'm going to attach the inquest into the case like in the description for you guys to go through. You can see a lot of messages for yourself. Like there is a lot more, and you'll just see like the emotional manipulation, just like the turmoil and abuse. It's some of the worst that I've ever seen. Also, you know, reminder like that it is very triggering, especially if you have been in an abusive or controlling relationship like this. So just know that going into it, because I did also like find it hard for me to get through a lot of this case because I was just, you know, very triggered. But then that also kind of like fuels me sometimes, you know. So yeah, I will attach it. I think it's really important just for you to be able to see for yourselves, and just kind of, I think it like connects you more with Renee, helps you understand like the fight that her family is continually having to go through. But it's a lot, but it's very important. I do think that you need to read it, because it just takes it from real, you know, like from me just telling you this case as like a story, because it's real life. And then you can really understand what Renee was going through. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, and I said that there was a photo of Brayden and Camila. That's what makes this case a little bit different than some of the other catfishing cases that we've talked about, because even though Renee's family and friends had a strong suspicion that Brayden was Camila, Renee was like, it can't be, because Camila has met him in person and has a photo with him, which seems to be true. Okay, so there is a photo of Camila with a guy who Renee believed was Brayden. My understanding, though, is that Camila found this random photo of a guy and edited herself into the photo to make it look like they met. I've also kind of been confused about this situation, because it also could seem that they may have randomly met at a bar, and this was just like a photo that was like taken on a night out, and this guy like just like forgot. But he's like, investigators did find him, and he's like, I I've never seen her. I have no idea who she is. And my name's not Brayden. I'm not Brayden. I'm not the one that was communicating with Renee. And like, obviously, like all of like his evidence and like cell phone records like prove that. So it seems like she saw this photo and then like edited herself to look like she met him. In the inquest, it also said that when police seized her like phones and like computers and stuff like that, they did find that edited and unedited photo. It didn't like specify being like edited without her in it or with her in it and then unedited without it. But that's how I'm understanding it. If anybody knows anything about this case and like, you know, the specifics of whether she actually met him or didn't, everything that I'm understanding is that she didn't. She edited herself into it. And then she was confronted by investigators about this, being like, you know, like, who's this guy? Like, did you meet him? And she said, no, I didn't. It was Renee that chose the photo, like, or chose the guy, like, to be Brayden. And she edited it herself. So, yeah. Insane. What is even more insane and upsetting in all of this is based on all of this, in my opinion, very strong evidence that ties everything back to Camila. She was not charged. So like a lot of other places in the world, there are no laws in Australia for catfishing. So for 7 years, the Marsdens fought for justice for Renee, because this isn't just some, you know, like somebody who, you know, like lied about who they were. Like Camila deceived Renee, emotionally tortured her for 2 years to the point of her taking her life. After 7 years, the Marsdens eventually were able to have an inquest in the case. And my understanding is an inquest in Australia is like a formal court hearing conducted by a coroner to investigate the circumstances surrounding the death. And then they just want to like be able to determine like the cause of death, how that death occurred, often with the goal of making recommendations to prevent similar situations and deaths happening in the future. This is not like it's not like a trial, and it doesn't have a jury, but it's just like gathering evidence from witnesses like family members, police, medical professionals, and then like coming to a decision from that. Camila was given immunity in exchange for providing a testimony. And this is really upsetting because you'd think, all right, you've been given immunity. No one, you know, like who loves Renee and misses her is probably happy about that. But there's got to be that feeling of finally knowing, finally hearing from the person that they believe is responsible for the death of their loved one, like taking accountability. And in her testimony, she just doubled down on her lies, saying Renee knew that this was Brayden and that she created him. And the reason she did that was so that they could be together, which is such a load of crap. Like her family even said, you know, like our children know. It does not matter who you love. Like love who you love. We love you. That's not the case. They did not like Camila, not because of any relationship that could have potentially been there, but because of her behaviors towards Renee and abuse towards Renee. They were like, this is not only like, wouldn't it be a good partner? She's not a good friend. She's not a good person. So at the end of this inquest, Camila was not held responsible, although the coroner did rule that like she believed Renee did not know Brayden didn't exist, but said like she couldn't make a recommendation on the punishment. Therefore, she is free to live her life. And I just cannot imagine, 'cause I never met Renee. But, you know, like based on reading everything and like just kind of getting into what she would have been going through, like that's why I think it's important to do it, because it does like give you a connection. So like for me to like feel like so protective and upset for her, I can't even imagine like her actual loved ones looking at this evidence being so obvious that Renee didn't know, and then the person deceiving her just is like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go on and live my life. And what's even more upsetting is that prior to Renee's death, Camila had recently found a boyfriend. guy named Michael, I guess. She went on to marry him. Meaning she did, remember that message that Renee was like hoping, like, you know, like one day you find your person and all I want is like happiness for you. Like she found that person. But the obsession and the clutch that she had on Renee, like she just couldn't let it go. So not only was she like also seeing somebody, she was just like still not wanting, you know, like all of the things that Renee wanted for her, she didn't want for Renee to have. Like just kept like psychologically breaking her down through lies and manipulation and emotional abuse. Like that is so heartbreaking and disgusting to process. And for Renee, like you kind of wonder, like, is it better that she didn't know that this was a so-called friend, like who was the cause of her being mentally tortured to the point that she felt she had no other choice but to like leave this world? Like, oh my God, like my heart breaks and like my stomach is like sick just thinking about that. I'm curious to know what that last exchange was. Again, like we're not going to know, but especially after she called the prison. And I wonder why like nobody, because like with privacy laws, it's like that was like the prison though, like, and it involved like a death later on. So I don't know why the Marsdens have never been told like what that conversation was, like being like that this person doesn't exist or this person's not there. And then her obviously messaging him and being like, what the hell? Like I just called. There are so many unknowns, but in the same time, there's like a lot of enough knowns to know who was behind all of this and who was the cause of Renee no longer being here. Like Camila, this broad is nothing but a dangerous predator. And I just feel like so like passionate and mad that she's just like, you need to take accountability. That's not okay at all. And it's even more terrifying for other people that are like her out there in the world who see like somebody like this, like there's no punishment whatsoever. And then with today's day and age, like technology and AI advancing constantly, like we need a law in place to deter these monsters from thinking that they're just going to like get away with this level of lies and abuse. Like it's sick. She's sick. Anyone who does this is sick and they need to be held accountable. Like I'm not understanding what the problem is here. Like I don't see it being like, oh, well, like no. Like we know enough about IP addresses. We know enough about like, you know, data paper trails and all of that. And nowadays, even with like cell phone records, they keep records a lot longer. There are ways to like definitively tie somebody to this type of behavior. I don't know. Anyways, as far as I know, the Marsdens have been working towards a law to honor Renee and like hold these people accountable. I think right now the only thing that is in place in terms of catfishing is like they will only be charged if there's proof that like the person being deceptive was profiting off of their victim. Yeah, that should be. But then also we have to broaden that. Like there is so much more than just that. So in the meantime, it's our responsibility, I think, to just continue raising awareness to these cases, call these people out for their evil behavior, which I have every intention in doing. Yeah, just support the families when you see, you know, like campaigns or pushes to like contact authorities or, you know, like law enforcement, judges, whatever you see. Like I'm going to keep my eye out on what the Marsdens are doing, because if it ever gets to that point where like they're like pushing for a bill and they need like our support and stuff like that, I'll let you know, because I would absolutely love to help any way that we can. It's clear, like there needs to be changes, like today, like yesterday, like 7 years ago. Anyways, that's it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It means the world to me. Thank you also again to Heyday for sponsoring today's video. I am still in disbelief and so very grateful for you. So make sure you guys click the link in my description so that you can just understand like how glorious the game is and why I feel this way and so passionate about it. Don't forget to claim your free gift before February 15th. What else? Riddle. I almost left you. The answer to today's riddle, quick reminder. Every night I'm told what to do, and each morning I do what I'm told, but I still don't escape your scold. What am I? The answer is an alarm clock. Yes, that is so relatable and so true. Did I get that one? No, but I know a lot of you did because you are brilliant and I love you. I will see you in the next video. I will miss you terribly until then. Make sure to love each other, love yourself, and I will see you soon.